And welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the show, and excited to be back on Education, Leadership, and Beyond. It is show number 90. Welcome to the program, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in live. We're live on Facebook. We are going on Disrupt Ed TV. We're going on Voice Ed Radio Canada. We're going to iTunes. We're going to Arkansas today. I'm so excited about that. I've never been, so this will be my first trip to Arkansas. And really excited about the program today. Really excited about the time of year. And just pumped to be with you here, again, live on Facebook and on all these avenues. And thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to meet our guest here in a moment. Rebecca Coda is today's guest. And she's doing a lot of things in education. We have a lot to talk about. She is an author. She is a mom. She is a school district leader. She is a co-founder of Pushing Boundaries, a consultant company that's doing amazing things in education, along with my brotato chip, Rick Jetter. So I'm really excited to talk to Rebecca about her journey and the work that she's doing, not only in her personal life, but also in her professional career. So I want to thank today's sponsor, and that is Rocketbook. If you've watched the show before, here's my Rocketbook. I'm going to take my notes. This is a reusable notebook. I have been using this in my personal life here, as well as my professional life as a principal. I'm going to write my notes here on this page here from our talk today, quotes that Rebecca says, things that Rebecca says that resonate with me. And then I'm going to designate it to my Google Drive, and then I'm going to save it. So I have it, and I could send it to an email. I could send it to Rebecca, but it keeps a digital record. And if you write neat, which I don't, guilty, it will write it out in an email for you as well. So I do want to thank Rocketbook. If you're interested, check out their website, rocketbook.com, and you punch in the code Murata20. It will give you a 20% discount. And I thank them for their relationship with me and the work they're doing getting into the field of education. That being said, let's get started. We're going to meet Rebecca in a moment. And again, this is one of two of Rebecca's books. I have Dunk Tank. I don't know what I did with it, but this is Rebecca's latest book here, Let Them Speak. And this book really, it was like a punch in the face. It was like I don't know, just it really resonated with me in terms of bringing the kids into the conversation, bringing the kids into the work that we are doing in schools. Think about your day. If you're an educator, whether you're a teacher, an administrator, a central administrator, think about the work that you did today. How many decisions you made about kids, how much work you did that affected kids. It's all of it. It's so much of it. And this is about giving kids a seat at the table, hearing what they have to say, and making decisions inclusive of them and not just for them or about them. And Rebecca tells so many stories in the book about different situations. She's got kids in here that participate in the book. So my challenge to you, if you are watching the show, and if you're live, we'd love to hear from you on Facebook. Leave us a question, leave us a comment, introduce yourself to Rebecca. She's on Twitter at Rebecca Coda. And I'm on Twitter at Andrew Murata21. But we'd love to hear from you today. I challenge you to incorporate some of the things that you're going to hear today in the show regarding students and student voice. We are on the doorstep of summer break here in the Northeast, as well as in the Midwest. And how much time are you going to reflect over the summer about things that went on during the year, changes you want to make? Certainly, one of the things I'm going to do is get some students involved and have more students at the table and get more student opinions in terms of whether it's a live conversation, whether it's in the interview process, whether it's a Google form, Google survey, something like that. But they will, as she writes in the book, they will speak to you. And if you, like she says in the title, if you let them, they're going to tell you. They're going to give you feedback, and they're going to give you real feedback. I say this with the utmost compliment and respect towards kids, but you've heard it, right? That kids are like dogs. Their senses about love and respect of people. It's so accurate. It is so on point. Sure, you have a kid that's going to twist something and make something up, and I get that. And we're talking about that small percentage of kids, but for the most part, kids are going to tell you how it really is. One of the problems that we're facing in my district, just like many, is about vaping. And we just had some kids at the table at a community-wide meeting about vaping in my district, where it came out. They said, you have no idea of what goes on with the kids in this vaping and how prevalent it is and how much it's happening. And your focus is on preventing it, getting detectors and punishing and all of that kind of stuff, versus doing more education about why we shouldn't. Help us understand why we shouldn't, because those dangers aren't front and center for us. And this is coming from kids. And I said, man, that was tremendous. And it really opened our eyes to some things regarding that next hurdle we are going to tackle. So that is enough of me talking by myself. I'm excited to talk to Rebecca. Let's bring her into the program. Let me click that. Boom. There she is, live from Arkansas.
Hey,
Rebecca,
Andrew. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond.
Absolutely.
I'm excited for you to be on, Rebecca. I'm excited to talk to you about the work you're doing, and certainly this book about student voice. So before I ask my first question, Rebecca, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? And, I mentioned Arkansas here, and, tell us a little bit about where you are right this moment and who you are.
Absolutely. Here. I'm in Cabot, Arkansas, so a small suburb of Little Rock. We're a K-12 district, and I support K-6 curriculum and instruction. So I kind of get to play a role in a lot of different things that really, truly impact our kids.
And I know you're not a native of Arkansas. We're going to get into that journey a little bit. How long have you been there, Rebecca?
This is my second summer here. So this is the second school year I've been here. And prior to that, I was in near Phoenix, Arizona for about 18 years.
So you went from the dry hot to the humid hot.
I did.
Am I getting that right? Yeah.
And the humidity is definitely cranking up here.
It's the real deal in Arkansas.
It is.
Okay, Rebecca, let's get started with this book. We had a chance to speak off air about. I was so impressed with it and what it does for kids, what it does for the adults. Talking about kids, what was the inspiration or the idea for this book, along with your co-author, my brotato chip?
Your brotato chip.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Jetter at the time was a superintendent up in Buffalo, New York. And, he routinely visited the schools, especially the kids in their own spaces. So whether it was out at recess or whether, it was in a library or the cafeteria, just, kind of getting that kid fix, because the higher you go up, the less contact you have on a daily basis with kids. And, sometimes those, just challenges in education surface, and sometimes it's good just to sit down with kids. And so at the time, he and I had written Escaping the School Leader's Dunk Tank. And so he started to tell me about just sitting on the park bench. He just literally had a bag of Skittles one day and was talking to kids. And what he discovered is, as he asked questions, they had solutions, they had insights, they had profound things that they were sharing, and really started this art form of narrativization, of writing down, word for word things that kids were saying, to come back and just read that narrative aloud to a principal group or a director group for, just different reformations that probably needed to be considered, different policies that maybe needed to be changed, or even just a procedure on a campus. And so he kind of collected those over, an amount of time. And I remember I was driving home one day from work, and we were on the phone, just kind of talking about, our current project, where we were headed next, some of those things that really can change education, not superficially, but truly to the core, to make an impact on our nation. Because there's many challenges that we face. And he's like, I've been collecting these narratives. It's really, I've seen it make an impact on people. So we really started talking about student voice. We had seen it emerging in conferences on social media. You know, you get glimpses and glimmers of it, but not really know what that totally meant and how that could make an impact. And so at the time I was at a school, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to try it. And so I did the same thing. I just started visiting kids in their turf, and we call it their turf ecosystem, because that's really where they're the most honest. You know, if you ask all kids a question in class or have them write it down and answer, that really wasn't what we were getting at. What we were getting at were just those organic conversations you have with kids, or those times where maybe you're just walking down the hall with a kid and they say something so profound. You're like, did that really just come out of the mouth of a kid? Because you know what? You're right. You know what? We should do it differently. So it really was more about the authenticity of, a lot of times kids have really important things to say, and we try to make decisions for them when the answer lies just right in front of us, right in the seats, you know, that we teach. And they really have the power to make some really effective decisions that we're making for them and to them without them.
Yeah.
So we just kind of collected those and really watched that unfold and make an impact.
Well, very cool. And we have a number of people watching live. Carol Downing from Texas is here. And please pop a question in there. We appreciate you tuning in. Rebecca, you tell so many stories in here of instances where the kid's voice and the kid's opinion changed something. And one of the ones that jumped out to me was on page 40 here in New York with the principal, Doug Patterson, and Jason, the fifth grader, about the exits. Yeah. And the principal making a decision about the exits. And tell me about that story in the chapter called Zingers and Stingers.
Yeah, and we say zingers and stingers because we have to be prepared to kind of put our egos aside. But sometimes there's simple things, like every time he exited, he had to go all the way out the front door, all the way around the school, and then all the way out the back door. And just simply, respectfully, one day I had a question like, why can't we just go out that door? And then I wouldn't have to walk all the way around, you know. And a lot of times we have safety procedures, or, you know, we need spaces covered by, you know, duty people so that we have eyes on kids. So a lot of times there are reasons why we make those decisions. And so this dialogue went back and forth between the principal and student. And at the end of the conversation, you know, he kind of passed the kid off like, oh, we do this because, you know, we go out the front. Like, that's how we've always done it. Have a great day. Send on our way or send him on his way. And really, after going back to the office and reflecting, it was kind of like the principal really didn't have a good explanation as to why, and really mulled over and reflected on the fact that, you know what, maybe there is a better way. Maybe he is right. I wonder if we could try it differently. And then acted on that. And then they ended up rerouting how they release kids and, you know, where they have adults posted. And it actually ended up working better, and dismissal went more quickly and more smoothly, just simply by having that conversation. But what that principal did that not everybody does is he stopped and he reflected and he took action. And that's the point where we really say that this is a movement. When you're really willing to do something about it, not just listen and take it in, but listen and do something about it when we can.
You know, taking action, like you said, you know, validates that young man and his input and his opinion, and only strengthens that relationship. And he took a negative, right, and turned it into a positive. You know, another great chapter in here is the one on gratitude.
Yeah.
You know, I that word, I met a gentleman this year that talks so much about gratitude, and it's such a part of our life. We include it in our grace now, about being grateful for the things in our life. But you share some stories in here about when teachers are, you know, asking opinions of the kids about, what do you like that I do? What makes, you know, the positive things in my class, and that exchange between teacher and student in terms of gratitude. Why don't you share a little bit about that?
Yeah,
Rebecca?
absolutely. I do think there's also a fear with this, with teachers asking, because you don't know what's going to be said. But so many times students come back with answers that, you know, will make us well up and cry, because they notice things about us, like coming to work tired, or we're, you know, working ourselves thin for them. And them saying, hey, you know what, you need to leave a little bit early. You need to take care of yourself. Or, you know what, I don't know that there is anything that you could do differently, because you know what? Every day when I come to your class, I feel special. I learn. I don't want to be anywhere else. You make us laugh. You make us feel like we belong. You make us feel like we're going to be successful as adults. So there's not really anything that you can do different. So many times when we ask for feedback, we're going to get, the raw and real zingers and stingers, but many times we're going to get those affirmations and gratitudes and perceptions of kids that they're just grateful. They're very grateful for the hard work and that love that they really have experienced.
And Rebecca, you know what? That's a great point. It was a great answer to the question. Sometimes there's a fear, right, that you're going to get something back negative. But if the flip side of that is, you may be doing something that you don't even know is having a positive impact on someone's life. And then they tell you, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know that I was doing that. And that's a great surprise, but you took the time to ask. So again, you motivated me. One of the things I'm going to do at my end of the year, we have our end of the year faculty meeting coming up in June, right? And I know my staff is tired. I know my staff is they don't want anything else, right? Don't dump anything else on me. And I've learned that, and I try to respect that. But I am going to challenge them. Why don't you do a survey? Why don't you get that feedback and ask those magic questions like you suggested here? And I think it'll help.
Yeah. And we like to spin the positive too. So for example, it just lost my mind for just 1 second. Brag tags. So a lot of times teachers give out brag tags to kids when they're, showing responsibility or kindness, doing things on their own, and they like achieving that and receiving that. But we kind of do the flip spin to that, and we give the kids the brag tags. And when they feel like the teachers earn that brag, they give the brag to the teacher. So also it's the other way around, of kids looking out for great things that their teachers are doing as well.
I love it. And again, if you're an educator watching, I challenge you to find something between now and the end of the year to get that student voice in your summer planning. Do some things where you're going to include kids, because it was great. So, and I recommend Rebecca and Rick's book here. Rebecca, let's talk a little bit about you personally. Sure. In prepping for the show and researching Rebecca Coda, on your personal website, there's the word intensity. And that come out, and meeting and talking with you. You're a lovely woman here. I don't see that intense side yet, but I could see it inside. Where's the intensity come from in your life?
I think intensity to a degree comes from adversity. But my father was very intense, war veteran. We had to work really hard. I've had multiple obstacles throughout life where I had to work harder than the normal person. And anything that I decided to do, it could have been simple as band. I had to be first chair. Like anything that I did, I had to do it to its fullest potential. I had not to be the best, but to be the best version of myself that I could be. And I think also because of just feeling like I had a higher purpose, that there were reasons why I experienced adversity in multiple facets of life. There were reasons I had obstacles to overcome, and every one that I overcame almost, I guess, grew that intensity. And I know we'll get to talking about being a foster parent too, but I mean, it takes an extraordinary amount of intensity, to get through some of those days. Everything is not always easy. But I think just that burning desire to always do my very best by everyone, to the best of my ability, really.
And when you were a kid, Rebecca, did you ever feel like it was too much, or that it just was too overwhelming for you? Because now you're reaping the benefits of it, becoming a hard worker yourself, becoming an intense worker and passionate worker. Did it ever feel like it was too much for you?
I think probably at times. However, somehow along the way, I just was resilient anyway. And then I think it comes with adulthood. There just comes that time of maturity and maturation where you just reflect and, you accept those things, or you resent them, and, you're a negative adult. And I know reflectively exactly why each, chapter in life happened, and what I had to overcome and why, and how it's made me better now, even just with gratitude, just being grateful for more things that I have now.
Sure. And you hinted on that question, so we can roll into that. And again, if you are watching live on Facebook, I'm glad you're tuning in. Leave us a question or a comment that we can share and talk about on the show today. But, in reading Rebecca's bio and getting to know her a little bit, she shared about not only is she, adoptive parents, but kids that have come from trauma and rough backgrounds. And we just talked a little bit about intensity. Rebecca, I appreciate you sharing about your personal life, and I'm very impressed by that. What pushed you down that road to say, not only am I going to help a kid, but I'm going to help a kid that, has had some trauma and adversity in their life?
Sure. Quite honest, I probably at the time didn't know just how deep I was jumping in. What I do know is my husband came from a law enforcement background. And so there were many times, he saw kids being removed from homes and what that does to families and what kids need. I was that teacher that, I signed up, and the kids that were in a group home, I would take them for the weekend, just give them, whatever it was they need. If it was a new pair of shoes, if it was just going to a movie for the first time in their life. My heart as an educator always went for the kid that didn't have a chance, that didn't have that opportunity. So it was kind of always there. Now, as an adult, did I always think I would have my own biological children? Probably. But even as a teenager, I would always tell my mom, like, why do people keep having kids when there's so many kids that don't have families? Why don't we just take them in first? And then if we want to have kids, have them. And I know that's not how life works, but that was kind of my perspective ever since I was a teenager. So I guess it just ended up kind of being a self-fulfilling prophecy. But as we really moved forward in our marriage, I think it was just something that was on our hearts. And, you move forward and you take the classes and you learn more, and you're like, there's a need. So, let's do this. And, you think you're prepared. Even as an educator, I would think I was prepared. You take all the classes, but then when you do real life, it's a different ballgame. It's a different level of intensity. And I learned a lot about myself, and I've learned a lot about kids of trauma through that process. And I'm still learning.
Yeah. I took the ACEs survey. I'm not sure if they use that term in Arkansas, but adverse childhood experiences. And it is terrifying, really, to think about what the kids are going through. And then we're yelling at them that they were late for school. They didn't do their homework.
Right.
Meanwhile, they got all this stuff going on. You mentioned that it's a lot. Did you, because you've done it multiple times, right? So after you're like, was there a tryout? Is there like, hey, we get to go meet this kid? Or is it like, hey, you're getting this, who was what are the names of your children? Like, did you get to see if it was a good match?
It's an interesting process. And one thing we did not want to do is we did not want to foster where there was a potential that we had to give them back. Mm-hmm. And so we said we wanted kids that were already, the rights were severed and kids were adoptable. But when that happens, sometimes that happens because whoever they're with didn't want to adopt. And a lot of times they're kids with more challenges. And we knew on our first one, we wanted a sibling set because we didn't want the kids to feel like they had nobody or that they would never have somebody to relate to. And so, it's kind of like a vetting process. They have families, and then they have kids in need, and they look at your strengths and they look at kids' needs. And so the current foster families and CPS, they basically look to see, is this a good match? What do we think? And they kind of deliberate and they come up with their number 1, 2, and 3. And so in both cases, we were just the number 1 choice. And so they let you come in and read the file, see the pictures. Wow. And then the state requires you to foster for 6 months before you're eligible to adopt, probably just to give that out if parents wanted to. But we didn't give up. We stuck it out, even though, it was hard. It was difficult. And we've had our ups and downs. But ultimately, no matter how many ACEs, I just believe that we're going to beat the odds. Because there's some serious odds out there, but I don't know. We're determined for them to be successful no matter what.
It's amazing, Rebecca, to hear that, and kudos to you and your husband for doing that. You know, we help kids every day in our schools,
Sure.
but you've taken it to the next level, and I commend you.
I appreciate that.
Something else you're taking to the next level is your work in helping other educators, and you and Dr. Jett are, you know, starting another journey together. You've written 2 books together, but you've also started Pushing Boundaries. You know, a group that is educating leaders, is educating other teachers. And, you know, tell me about your journey with Pushing Boundaries, and, you know, what are your hopes that are going to come from that journey? Oh, did I lose you? Did I lose you, Rebecca? Can you hear me? I'm here. Can you? Oh, I don't know what happened. Did I lose you, Rebecca? Oh, no. I can hear you. Something happened with her sound. She's writing a message here. We're going old school with the message. Did I hit a plug or something? Oh, she's texting me. My screen is black. Why don't you say something, Rebecca? Let's see what happened. Say something. We are texting on live. Oh, let's see. She's going to come back on. Something happened here. We're experiencing technical difficulties. I apologize if you were watching. Here, she's coming back. Are you back with us?
It just cut out completely. So hopefully everybody's forgiving.
New York to Arkansas, we had a little technical difficulties, but you jumped right back in.
Awesome.
Thank you, Rebecca. I was asking you about the journey that you're on with Pushing Boundaries and starting that with Rick. And tell me, where do you hope to go with that journey, and what you hope to accomplish with Pushing Boundaries?
You know, we were in the car. I was in the car. He was in his car. We were talking because we had written Dunk Tank. We had written Let Them Speak, had a couple other manuscripts ahead, just been on this journey together. And we were talking, and I was like, we just got to have something that has some continuity, because it looks like we're all over the place. You know, so what is it? What is it that we're doing? And we just were having that conversation. And Rick said the word Pushing Boundaries. I'm like, that's what we're doing. Like, that is what we're doing. Like, that is what makes us do what we do, because our work that we do, you know, and we'll talk about presenting, but, you know, we have people that love us or hate us, because we're talking about topics that people love or hate, based on just where they are in their own journey. Because I feel like we don't have time for the status quo. We don't. Our kids deserve the best. They deserve to be happy. They deserve to be successful. And just like the juuling that you talked about at the beginning, the child of today is not even the child of 2 years ago, because we're seeing the same epidemic. The things that we are seeing in 5th and 6th grade are so very different than they've ever been. And that's one thing that we keep hearing from our principals. And so we just wanted that continuity, and we had just kind of tweeted some things out about Pushing Boundaries in general, just some quotes. And what we found is just this outpouring of people responding like, I want to be a part of that. I want to push boundaries too. Just the concept of not allowing the status quo. Like, we can't just sit idle anymore. Everybody's got to jump on board and do something to make things better for education. You can't wait for the next thing to come around. Like, we've just got to band together, and we just have such incredible people that have really wanted to join that effort, that really it is just about us being a PLN more than anything. It's this idea that we're better together, and when we have a collective voice, we have a bigger voice. And that's really what it's kind of been for us.
And they can find you at pushingboundaries.com. Is that the on your website? I think it's
pushboundconsulting.com.
Got it. But when you Google it, you'll see your pretty face along with my potato chip there.
Yep.
Rick, you know, Rebecca, you and I had to move some things around to make this happen, and I got to run back to school here for some things in the evening. But I certainly want to get to the rapid fire questions, just to get those to you. So Let's go with the rapid fire here. What was the last book you read?
Well, I'm excited to say it's One Drop of Kindness. Jeff Kubiak just released, and it's amazing.
One Drop of Kindness. Cool. Last movie you saw?
It was on my last flight coming back from Maine, and it's titled The Same Kind of Different as Me.
Oh, I
It
haven't heard of that.
It is a game changer video everybody should see.
Really? Same kind of different
Yes.
as me?
Yep. It'll give you that new perspective on adults, kids, life.
Who's in that film?
Greg Kinnear and Renee Zellweger are the main characters in there. It's really good.
I've forgiven Renee for her. You split with Kenny. I've forgiven her. I will give it a shot. Kenny's my guy, you know. Your favorite place to travel? You were just in Maine. I know you took some beautiful pictures up there. Where's your favorite place to travel?
Probably California or Florida, either coast.
Okay. She likes that you like that nice warm weather, don't you?
I do like the warm weather.
You went to Maine in the spring. Smart move.
That's right.
What's a challenge that you have now in your work, Rebecca?
The biggest one is just balancing all the roles and responsibilities. There's a lot of different content areas, levels of need, processes, protocols. So just balancing all that and making sure everybody gets what they need.
Yeah, not only at work, but in your home life.
Sure.
Absolutely. What's something that motivates you?
I think what makes me happiest is when I see other people feel success. Like when you see them, like my principals, for example, they're unbelievable. They have worked so hard this year, and just walking in the schools at the end of the year, everybody's just proud. You can look, you can see, you can feel. The data shows like everything they did just paid off. And I guess there's nothing more rewarding for me than to see other people, really thrive and be successful.
That's great to hear you talk about your school in that manner and the leaders that you work with and the kids that you work with. So that's fantastic. How about a pet peeve, Rebecca? What's something that kind of gets under your skin a little bit?
Chewing with your mouth open.
Is that right?
Hacking.
You must say that at the dinner table. Couple times.
That's true.
Best purchase under $100 that has had a great impact on your life.
Okay, so as seen on TV, they can give me credit for this. It's called a stop drop. But you know how when you sit in your car and you always drop stuff between the seat and the middle console?
Yeah.
They're only $20 and it goes like right over where you click in your seatbelt, but it closes the gap.
Uh-huh.
And I never lose anything anymore.
I've dropped many of things down there.
I'm telling you, it is the best gift to give, is the best gift to receive. We got them in all three of our cars.
Okay. I'm gonna give a shout out to one of my buddies. They're working on a product called Stable.
Oh.
It's a table that helps you stay, right? So if you have something, you have a little sandwich, it kind of fits in the seat, and it's a little table. They call it Stable.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
You're going to see it on, as seen on TV, coming soon. Stable. Look for that. Rebecca, outside your family and your work as an educator, what is something that you're passionate about?
I'm passionate about a lot of things like faith, but I love to do photography. I'm not super good at it, but I really like it. I really enjoy it.
Very cool. And I know you talk a lot about your faith on your website, and it goes hand in hand with your work, even though you can't mix religion in schools.
Right.
You're doing good work for kids and people, and that's great. How about a short-term goal for you, 3 to 5 months?
That's probably more on the personal end, and I think it's kind of just that reflection time for us in the year, and it goes back to balancing, but just really building routines for myself, just with health and wellness, and just building in some routines that I just need to reset for myself.
Very cool. I'm gonna put my thing out on Twitter here, my annual thing from my guy, Dr. Rob Gilbert, but the 7 C's, Rebecca. So look for that this weekend, Memorial Day to Labor Day, the 7 C's. It's going to be coming out on Twitter, and it is a great thing for your own personal wellness. So I won't release that until Monday. Okay.
All right. I'll be waiting.
Cool. Long-term personal goal, 3 to 5 years.
I have another manuscript that I'm working on. It's more faith-based.
Sure.
And I have quite a bit of it done, but it's one of those that it's kind of unfolding as it goes too. So I would hope that I would be done with that within 3 to 5.
Very cool. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
You have a title yet?
It's called Life Trapped.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Rebecca, we mentioned about pushing boundaries in the website. Like, how can people get in touch with you if they're interested in pushing boundaries, or you guys coming to speak, or the books? How can they get in touch with you?
Well, I'm on Twitter at Rebecca Coda or Facebook at Rebecca Coda. So you can message me, RebeccaCoda.com. And my email is RebeccaCoda1@gmail.com.
Okay. Cool, Rebecca. And, I put out a quote that I found in the book and I love, but do you have a personal quote? You have something that resonates with you that is a saying of yours that you'd like to share?
I just think of it was from a Steve Martin movie, and you're going to think it, I'm trying to remember. It was like Rubric the Monkey Boy. Steve Martin was in it. I can't remember the name of it, but he said it in jest, and he was talking about his gram, but he said, it is better to be good than to not. And I know that's simple, but I mean, it really is about just making good choices and, just being good and having integrity in life. The path is much better.
You've probably said that to 1,000 kids, is my guess. Cool. Well, I'm going to read the quote from your book here. It was by Robert John Meehan. Be diligent in believing that what we do in the classroom can echo for a lifetime in the heart of a student, right? You never know about that impact. Joe Sanfilippo, the superintendent from Wisconsin, he's an education leader, talked about every interaction is so important. And certainly that quote says that. So I appreciate you putting that in the book. And I appreciate you coming on the show, Rebecca.
Absolutely. I appreciate that people truly are embracing student voice and that it is a movement, because I do think that, we can make a difference one by one, life by life, district by district. So thank you.
And here it is here. Here's their book again. Rebecca also mentioned Dunk Tank. We haven't had a chance to get to that. But I recommend this. Put it on your summer reading list. Put it in the work you're doing for next year as you start to prepare for school. And again, think about that end of the year survey if you are an educator. And certainly leave us a comment. We're going to wrap the show up now. I got to run back to school myself. But Rebecca, thank you so much for tuning in here on Education, Leadership, and Beyond. We're going to get the music coming up again. Rebecca Coda, everyone. Rebecca, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And leave us a comment. Follow Rebecca on Twitter, and certainly check out her and Rick's book here one more time. Let them speak.